All right, so CAD is currently at a positive 6.9. Okay, Swiss franc is currently at a negative 2.7. Okay, we expect this to weaken even more. Okay, as the world's economies start to open. Okay, so we know that short-term direction is to the upside, long-term direction to the upside. We expect buy pressure to have fundamental support. Okay, so here's our monthly upper, monthly lower, weekly upper, weekly lower, daily mid-range zone. All right, now what do we see here? All right, we have buy pressure breaking sell pressure, all right, at our monthly lower zone. Okay, we see buy pressure marching to its weekly lower zone and breaking that as well with fundamental support. So let's take it to the weekly time frame. Okay, now the important information we get at area sensitivity is if there is an exhaustion and a complete exhaustion, we know that there's a stronger level of sell pressure than expected, or fundamentals are not as strong as they used to be. In this case, straight shot to the upside. This is a weekly zone, so that's not an easy thing to do. Okay, telling us a lot of buy pressure. All right. We then see buy pressure make its way with free range to its daily, okay? And then we see exhaustion. This exhaustion was caused by inflation scares, okay? We had yields rise, which gives fear to inflation. So all the strong pairs saw minor weakness across the board. We had come back for exhaustion, but as expected, buy pressure came in as support, okay? Push, exhaustion, continuational push, all right? So what are we in right now? We're in a continuational push. Buy pressure is currently in battle with sell pressure at its daily mid-range zone. We know that we're going to have fundamental support, air support come in and send us to our new range. Also, we have free range from our weekly lower zone to our weekly upper zone because fundamentals have not shifted enough for anything to change. So we know that if buy pressure was able to break our weekly lower, it's going to be able to break our daily mid range. All right. So as we take it to the daily time frame, all right, we can start to see these cycles a little bit better here. We can remove this now. All right. So what do we see here? Here's that push, exhaustion caused by yield, inflation scares, continuational push as buy pressure came back and supported, former resistance, new support. Buy pressure is now in battle with sell pressure. As you can see, sell pressure has come in, pin bar, buy pressure saying, no, we're not coming back for another impulse or exhaustion to the downside, respecting this lower time frame uptrend. All right. And then we see air support come in, right? Where's the air support? Well, air support came in multiple times. Okay. First off, we had sell pressure. So we had a wedge, right? We had some sort of wedge pattern here, which is essentially what? Remember, we don't talk it again. I don't like to say wedges or this or that because we have to trade based on knowledge, not just based on memory. So when we talk about this, when we talk about a wedge, we have to understand what is actually happening here. And what's happening here is price makes its move. Okay. Sell pressure says, no. And what is sell pressure? Why are like this is how, by saying buyers and sellers, we simplify it. But what's actually happening here? Well, let's think about it. What would happen, team, if we had an entry short to the downside here? Where would our SL be? Right? Hypothetically speaking. Let's say we found an entry to the downside. Where would our SL be? Above area of sensitivity, right? This is where sellers are at daily mid-range zone. So our SL would be slightly above. So what happens here when price reaches that level? Boom, all these SLs are triggered. Price comes back to the downside. Okay, that's what's happening. Okay, we have to understand really what's going on. All right. And then when price makes it back to another area of sensitivity, that's what's happening. New buy pressure, limit orders are moving to the upside. So here we have a battle between sell pressure and buy pressure. And then we have fundamental support come in, right? This is fundamental air support. And then especially here, this was an extremely important break to the upside with this bullish engulfing candle close, breaking previous high. That tells us that buy pressure said, finally, we had enough. We have air support and we're breaking previous high. Now, that takes a lot of energy, right? To break previous high, to break a zone, okay? Because this isn't just sell pressure from just some mid-range lower time frame wedge, right? We're talking about sell pressure from a daily mid-range zone. So this is an extremely important break. Now that's a push. Now what's after a push to the upside? Exhaustion, right? Exhaustion to the downside. Now, again, why is this very common? Why are exhaustions very common rather than just like a continuational move? Again, team, what's happening here? First off, it's important to understand, okay? A push is a push because it requires a lot of energy. In this case, it required buyers a lot of energy, okay, to break sell pressure. What do you do after a hard workout? You rest after, right? So what's happening is there's a push, there's a reload, a rest period before then a continuational move. These rest periods are caused by multiple things, okay? Rest periods can be caused by, again, certain types of triggers being executed. So for example, if we were short here on a sell limit order, okay, where would our SL be? Or for example, if we were going short again, expecting another move to the downside, where would our SL be? It would probably be around this level, right? At a 1 to 2 RR. Okay, so sellers can come in due to certain types of triggers. Exhaustions can happen due to certain types of triggers like this, or it can happen due to low volume period of market hours. Okay, so many times when you see pushes, there's an exhaustion during the low volume period of market hour, and then as volume comes back in, liquidity comes back in, we see a continuational move. Okay, so price worked really hard to break area sensitivity. Okay, all right, this is fundamental support. So we have a push, okay, we had price make an extension to the upside, probably got triggered, and probably some SLs or certain things got triggered in the market. Okay, and what's going to happen now? We're going to have eventually a continuational move to the upside. Now, a lot of you, I'm sure, psychologically feared this. All right, you get very happy, and then suddenly you see this and you get a little scared, right? Again, higher time frames provide that kind of support for you. What do we see here? Simple here on the 4-hour time frame. Push, exhaustion, what's coming up? Continuational push. You got to remember, the lower the time frame, the more, okay, we just see bullish engulfing followed by another bullish candle here, which will be a continuation, right? So there's nothing to worry about. The lower the time frame, the more noise, okay? It's important to understand that. So if you have not entered, if you are new to the team, okay, and you have not entered CAD Swiss franc, we've been in CAD Swiss franc for a very long time now, okay? We've been riding this sucker and we're going to continue to ride them, all right? But push exhaustion as expected, we're finding buy pressure, okay? Continued support. Eventually, we're going to see that continuational move to the upside. Right now, we can expect some level of consolidation, some sell pressure, okay, some buy pressure. And then when the next wave of volume comes in, we're going to see that continuational move. So if you are a limit order trader, even placing a buy limit order right now is not even a bad play, okay? Something of this nature, you can have a relatively tighter SL, okay? And then you can ride this sucker to the upside, okay? So SL would be above mid-range, slightly below mid-range, okay? And then you can ride this sucker. But if you are a little bit safer of a trader, okay, which if you're new, I definitely suggest you should be not placing limit orders, okay? What we want to look for is area sensitivity for you to enter, okay? So what we can see here is just some lower time frame, mid-range sensitivity, okay? We have previous high, which is an area, and then of course we have this level, which is already identified. So what you would want to wait for here is price to make a push above mid-range. It will hit previous high, come back for an exhaustion, and you're going to want to place an entry at price action and entry confirmation. Of course, we're going to keep you posted here for a continuational move to the upside, okay? So those are for those of you who are not entered, okay? And also for those of you who maybe want to increase your position size if on CAD Swiss franc. Again, we're seeing right now the yen is the weakest pair, okay, at a negative 9.6. But I believe the Swiss franc will start to follow that as well, okay, and sort of have